So Tyran Stokes is out of his high school, figuring out what is next. We did a video reacting to that news, I think yesterday. I was not on it. I was off yesterday, so I've mostly kept my thoughts to myself until now, but I have been listening to what you and everybody else has been saying about the entire complicated Tyran Stokes situation. Obviously some red flags here. Obviously a very talented kid trying to figure out the next step in his future. Well, Jacob Polachek, KSR on three. Shout out to Jacob, friend of the program, amazing guy. He was able to get some intel documented here on what Mark Pope is saying about the idea of potentially bringing in a player mid-season as these rumors of Tyron Stokes potentially being available to join Kentucky's roster midseason come about. I don't know. I was trying to find video and find if there was an actual question on this. Like, is this would you add Tyron Stokes? I don't think coaches are allowed to talk about players in that regard. So I think we're all kind of dancing around this as creatively as we can be. But anyways, the point of this was Mark Pope at a press conference basically aware that there are rumors that Tyron Stokes might be looking to enroll early and discussing the theoretical world of adding someone to the Kentucky roster. I'm not going to read the full quotes. You should go read the full article to get the full picture of this. Again, go support Jacob and the great team at KSR and On 3 and all of their work. But here's some of what Mark Pope had to say. He said, quote, "I love my roster right now, so I don't worry about disrupting a team so much because the team is always getting disrupted with guys in and out of injury, in and out of the rotation. We have such a solid locker room. The core of our locker room is so solid, we could probably throw anything at our group and they would respond well. I'm not looking to add anything right now because I actually love our team." End quote. I'm very confused after this monologue from Mark Pope on what it means and what he actually wants. Can you help me make sense of this?
So this might be the rare moment where both you and I are confused because here's how I see it. If it was, let's say it's the difference between you getting Tyron Stokes and you not getting Tyron Stokes. You take him, right? Like if you really want him and the difference between you getting him and not getting him is taking him in the midseason, then you take him, right? Otherwise, I think somebody else could offer him that and he probably goes there. On the flip side of this, the side I'm leaning more towards here, I think Mark Pope's 100% right in doing this because look, I said on the video yesterday, I think that Tyron has a large level of maturity of maturing to do, and I don't know if adding that to my team, who's top 10 in the country, who is full of 21-year-olds too, by the way. I just don't know if what I want to insert into that. I don't know if I want to bring the energy of the 18-year-old number one recruit who is kind of has some maturity issues into the locker room to kind of fix that. Now, I also said yesterday, I think Mark Pope would be a great coach to kind of do the whole wrap his arms around Tyron Stokes. You know what I'm saying? Help him mature, pitch him on the gratitude, do everything like that. But mid-season, as you got a top 10 team and all this stuff in front of you, it's just I don't it's too risky to me. I wouldn't want to do that.
So the confusing part to me, again, I feel like without being at this press conference, just reading the quotes, there's some pretty obvious, oh, he's talking about Tyron Stokes without talking about Tyron Stokes, right?
Yeah,
Like Mark Pope knows that this sort of would you add anyone mid-season is basically about Tyron or nothing.
right.
Kentucky's not looking to add any random player right now. It would be speaking on Tyron Stokes without speaking on Tyron Stokes. Um, the confusing part to me here is I feel like I'm hearing different things from Pope himself in this quote. It doesn't really feel like there's a clear answer or clear direction of what Mark Pope wants on this. I mean, simultaneously, just to reread some of these quotes, but let's put them in separate buckets. Bucket number one, I love my roster right now. I'm not looking to add anything because I love our team. That's bucket one. I completely agree with that bucket. I believe in that bucket. He loves his roster. It's the most expensive roster in the sport. They can win a national title with what is currently in the locker room. Get healthy. Then you have bucket two in the exact same clip where he says, I don't worry about disrupting a team so much. We're already getting disrupted. We have such a solid locker room, we could probably throw anything at them. So which one is it? Is it you love your team and you're not looking to add anything? Or is it, well, disruption's not an issue. We could throw disruption at this group. Like those are two very different things. Very different things. So I'm just confused. Normally I feel like when Pope speaks on anything like this, whether it's his current team or recruiting or big picture stuff, he's just like very clear, concise, aligned on whatever the message is. This message to me is very confusing. I don't know. I do not know. If you ask me, like, is Mark Pope trying to bring in Tyran Stokes midseason? Based on this interview, I'm like, I have no idea. He simultaneously is like, I don't need it. We love our roster, and also like, yeah, I could throw that at my roster and they'd handle it. So, like, should he want this? What do you think he actually wants?
Well, I think that goes back to the first point I said though. Like, if this is the difference between you getting Tyron Stokes and you not getting him, you don't want to completely close the door on that. So maybe he's just leaving the door open to that possibility.
Do you think so? You think like basically prior to Tyron's departure from school this week, do you think that Mark Pope and staff were just like, oh yeah, next year? But now that things have changed from Tyron's side, you think there's a possibility where it's like, well, now I need to enroll early. Either get me or don't.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, look, he withdrew from school the first week of November.
Right.
Like, where there's not many options for him to go, to be honest. Like, it's got to be a prep school, I'm assuming. That also might not be as easy as you think. So this might be an option where like either he goes or he doesn't.
Right. And so if we're going down that path, there's a world where Stokes is saying this to all three of his finalists.
Hmm.
Just like, let me enroll early. And maybe the first one who's like, yes, do it gets him.
Yeah, possibly.
And he obviously wants Kentucky, but Mark Pope is now juggling a decision on should we disrupt the locker room or not. If that is the situation, so you think that Mark Pope should bring in Tyron midseason?
I do think so. Yeah. You've put so much time and effort into this kid to get him. Truly, you have. And for the reason you lose out on him is because you don't want him to enroll mid-season. And look, I get it. There's disaster potential with this. I don't want to bring 18-year-olds into my school that fight at high school as the number one recruit. That's crazy to me. But, I think there's some things you can work out here. I think there's some maturing that can be done. I think Mark Pope and Mark Pope's staff, support team would be a good staff to be around to help with that maturity level of this. It comes with a risk though, but also like maybe it just comes with a risk getting Tyron Stokes.
It's a pretty big risk. We have talked about the red flags, and we didn't know the red flags would be this big, this loud, this early. But so okay, I want to say this, and then I'm going to give like my, I guess, deliberation. What is my verdict on what they should do? First, though, if our read on the situation's right, and this is what's happening, Stokes and Camp are like, we need to enroll early now. Who's going to let us? It's a tough spot for Pope hugely, and it's a tough spot for all the schools involved because by all accounts, Pope had done the best job on this recruitment, was going to win this recruitment, had probably lined up everything perfectly to kind of have this like, this year's veteran kind of sum of their parts team, gratitude, number nine, and then next year inject some very serious star power to it in the form of Stokes and possibly other guys. I think of all coaches on earth who could handle adding a guy like Stokes to a good team midseason and making it work, Pope is pretty high on the list. Like,
Hmm.
if his final three are Dana Altman, Mark Pope, and Bill Self, I think Pope could do it because I think he's a player's coach and we'll just figure it out. I think Self could do it because he's Self and has an infrastructure there that he could navigate. I don't think Dana Altman would do it. I think if Tyran Stokes goes to Oregon, it would be scary in a lot of ways for all parties involved. Talented, they'd take him, but that wouldn't be the most protective environment, I don't think, for him.
Don't
So,
you think that you miss one?
well, there's only three schools left, right?
Yeah, but now with this new thing, you see a little guy in the background in the corner. If you stare really deep, you can see Musk back there in the corner.
Like, hey, big head.
Hey,
Hey.
hey, you said you can enroll Tuesday. What day is it right now? Go ahead. We
Right.
got you. I already got
For
you. We
sure.
already got you a dorm.
Here's, can I speak for myself now, though?
Yeah,
We've laid out the situation as like objectively as we can, I think, between you and I. Is that fair?
yeah,
Okay. This is me now speaking for myself. I don't get why we're doing this. I don't get why we're even pretending we're open to it, or maybe it's not pretending, maybe we're serious about it. Um, Listen, I believe in what Mark Pope sells his team's values as: winning, gratitude, togetherness, sacrifice, good people. That's real. And it's part of what has made the first year and a half at Kentucky so enjoyable for Kentucky fans because he is genuinely bringing good people with fun personalities and just like you don't have to question the hearts of the people that play for Mark Pope. This is a disaster fit. We're going to bring in the kid that just was about to get expelled from school for beating a kid up into that mid-season to redshirt. That goes against everything Mark Pope says his program stands for.
yeah,
And redshirting goes against everything Tyran Stokes stands for. So, like, look, again, I think Mark Pope could figure it out. He's great, but it would be a pretty huge indictment on, like, the idea of Mark Pope actually, like, being real about what he says his program stands for. That's like if that's real, he doesn't do this. And honestly, if that's real, I don't know that Tyron Stokes even plays at Kentucky. This kid is such a not like non-fit. It's not a fit. And I get that he's the number one player in the country. I understand that, and I'm not trying to condemn an 18-year-old kid. We all make mistakes. I certainly there are a lot of people that have done foolish, stupid, bad things as a 17-year-old that have gone on to become amazing people in a lot of ways. Being around Mark Pope might be what's best for Tyron Stokes, the human being, and changing his life being around someone like that. But also at the same time, it's one thing to bring in Stokes next year and deal with all of this and say we're going to start on next year's roster. To do that to this year's guys when Stokes won't even play
mhm.
is just such a mess. He shouldn't do it. Like I will say for myself, he shouldn't do it. And I
What
kind
if
of
it?
can't believe we're here.
What if it's the difference between him getting him and not getting him?
Good. He's not a Pope guy. Like I'm sorry. And if he gets him, we will all applaud him because he's the number one player in the country. But this kid, everything he has put on record about how he is wired and who he is the opposite of what Mark Pope's program stands for. I cannot believe we're actually doing this. And again, he's talented, talented as hell. I'll applaud him if they make it work. But I would almost have more, I'd be more impressed if they didn't. I really would. And I think Caleb Holt's sitting right there. I said it a couple weeks ago. If I'm Kentucky, I would go all in on Caleb Holt before I would even want Tyron Stokes. If I could
Mm.
get Caleb Holt and avoid Tyron Stokes, I think that's a massive win, even better than trying to get them both. I know a lot of people won't disagree with me, and I don't like coming in and being like, this is about that kid. I don't know the kid. I don't. I just know what happened to him this week. And I would want no part of that. If I'm Otega Owe, who came back for one extra year, if I'm pick a guy on this roster, like that, I don't want to be around that, especially in the form of a kid that's like, yeah, I'm not even going to play. If that did happen, though, let's just forget everything I just said. Say it happens. What do you think it will have an effect on Kentucky basketball this season?
If he does come, the thing is, if he does come along,
Well, they say he's going to redshirt. He's not going to play.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think if he does come along, the only thing that happens is nothing changes. So there's no positive outcome to this, to be honest with you. I think it's just that
Doesn't help the basketball
it
team.
does not help this year's basketball team. No.
Could
So
only be a distraction.
yes, that's it.
Do you think, like, how does it work in the long term? Because there's also the world. I mean, Kentucky fans have lived this before, right? This is a little Shaden Sharpie.
Mm, yeah, and he just sat like, yeah, a little bit. Except Shaden wasn't got expelled from school, but
Right. Shaden didn't have the personality concerns, but
yeah,
it still turned into, well, I'm not even going to play basketball.
yeah, true.
So, like, would any of us be surprised if that's the path this goes down?
No, and I think too, if you're Kentucky, like you are, I mean, sorry to Riley and UNC fans, but like maybe you kick the tires on Maximo Adams one more time. You're in for Christian Collins, you're in for
Yeah.
Caleb Holt. I think you kind of just move on.
That's what I would do. But I understand that's not what Mark Pope's going to do. But I'm kind of shocked by this.
I think that is what he's gonna do.
You think that is the path this goes?
I think he's entertaining the idea out of respect, probably, and just entertaining the idea. I think there's zero chance that he adds him.
Going from Darren Peterson and Cam Boozer to Tyran Stokes at the top of the class next year is going to be like going from like a study abroad to Cleveland, Ohio.
Well, this is AJ's fault.
Is it?
Yeah, because he reclassed.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Should have been AJ,
This is on AJ's.
which is actually crazy to think about.
How so?
Like AJ being a year younger is crazy to
Oh
think.
yeah, and insane. But get him out of high school so he doesn't fight high schoolers.
The one last question I have on this, I said Oregon would be a disaster. Altman, I don't think would hold him accountable. Kentucky would be bad for Kentucky, in my opinion, but we'll see. What about Kansas? What about that third option here? And now, look, I don't know how like the academic side would go with this or what would happen, but like Kentucky's talking, oh, come in, enroll, and we'll redshirt you.
Mhm.
Isn't there a world where Kansas has come in and play?
I would even say no to that.
Would you?
I would. I would. Look. I'm not trying to. If we were ranked,
Kansas could use the minutes though, right?
they could, but if I'm ranking a prospect who I wouldn't want to join my team mid-season, Tyron Stokes would also be the number one prospect in that class. It's just I need a full summer. I need everyone on the same page. I need time. And honestly, it might work in general because I think Darren Peterson is wired to just like not care or handle that and just go about his business.
Peterson and Stokes might, but that would not go well, I don't think.
I don't know where this goes well.
Which speaks to a reality about the situation, I think. Right? If we can't even come up with a spot for the number one player in the country that we think goes well, what does that say?
Yeah, not good. Not
Not
ideal.
great. Not great. How do you
Not
think it
good.
ends?
I think it ends up with him at a prep school. I don't know which one it's going to be. And then,
Does he ever play college basketball?
yeah, I think his recruitment opens back up, though.
Not at Kentucky.
I don't think it's no, I still think Kentucky has a chance, yes.
If it's next year, I like that for Kentucky a lot more than I like it this year.